Tired of being stuck in endless planning? The audiobook, Speed Up: Why Quick Wins Always Beat Perfect Plans, is your escape route. Discover how to ditch perfectionism and embrace rapid execution. Learn actionable strategies to validate ideas quickly, maintain momentum, and achieve tangible results. Don't risk missing out on opportunities while others race ahead. Transform your approach to work and life, boost productivity, and unlock your potential for rapid, lasting success. Before we go on, I invite you to download the free bundle, which contains the ebook version of this book and an executive summary of all the chapters with the key takeaways. Studies show that engaging with content through multiple formats significantly enhances learning and retention. Click on the first link in the description to claim your free bundle now and maximize your learning potential. Now it's free, but it won't be for long, so make sure to grab it while you can. Chapter 1: Action over Perfection. In the bustling heart of Silicon Valley, a young entrepreneur named Sarah stood frozen before her whiteboard, marker in hand, paralyzed by the weight of her own ambition. Her groundbreaking app idea, meticulously planned over months, remained nothing more than a series of flowcharts and bullet points. As she stared at the intricate web of possibilities, Sarah realized she had fallen into a trap that ensnares countless visionaries: the pursuit of perfection at the cost of progress. This scene, while fictional, represents a very real and pervasive challenge in our modern world. We live in an era of unprecedented opportunity, where technology and connectivity have lowered the barriers to entry for innovators and creators. Yet paradoxically, many find themselves stuck in a cycle of endless preparation, always waiting for the perfect moment to launch their ideas into the world. The truth is, there is no such thing as a perfect plan. The most successful individuals and organizations in history have not achieved their status through flawless execution of meticulously crafted strategies. Instead, they've embraced a fundamental principle that separates dreamers from doers: action trumps perfection. This principle forms the cornerstone of our journey through Speed Up: Why Quick Wins Always Beat Perfect Plans. In this chapter, we'll explore why taking imperfect action is not just beneficial, but essential in today's fast-paced world. We'll debunk the myth of readiness that keeps so many great ideas confined to notebooks and hard drives. Most importantly, we'll equip you with practical strategies to break free from the paralysis of planning and start making tangible progress towards your goals. The cost of inaction is often invisible, but immense. Every day spent refining a plan is a day lost to potential learning, growth, and real-world feedback. In the time it takes to craft the perfect strategy, markets shift, opportunities vanish, and motivation wanes. By contrast, even small, imperfect steps forward can generate momentum, provide valuable insights, and open doors to unexpected possibilities. Consider the story of Jeff Bezos, who launched Amazon as an online bookstore with a bare-bones website and a garage full of books. He didn't wait until he had a perfect inventory system or a flawless user interface. Instead, he took action with what he had, learned from real customers, and iterated rapidly. This bias for action allowed Amazon to evolve and expand far beyond its initial scope, becoming the e-commerce giant we know today. The fear of imperfection is deeply rooted in human psychology. We're hardwired to avoid risks and seek certainty. In prehistoric times, this caution served us well, keeping us safe from predators and environmental dangers. But in the modern world of innovation and entrepreneurship, this same instinct can become our greatest obstacle. To overcome this innate resistance to imperfect action, we need to reframe our understanding of mistakes and failures. Every misstep is an opportunity to learn, every setback a chance to refine our approach. By embracing imperfection, we free ourselves to experiment, innovate, and ultimately achieve far more than we ever could by striving for an unattainable ideal. This mindset shift is not just about individual projects or goals. It's about cultivating a lifelong habit of action over hesitation. It's about building the mental muscles that allow us to push through uncertainty and take those crucial first steps, even when the path ahead is unclear. One powerful technique for fostering this action-oriented mindset is the use of micro-deadlines. Instead of setting distant, daunting goals, break your projects into small, manageable tasks with tight timeframes. Give yourself just one day to create a rough prototype, or 1 hour to write the first draft of a proposal. These self-imposed constraints force you to focus on essentials and prevent overthinking. Another key strategy is to celebrate your rough drafts. Too often, we hide our initial attempts, ashamed of their imperfections. But by sharing these early versions and seeking feedback, we gain invaluable insights and build momentum. Remember, a flawed prototype in the hands of users provides far more valuable information than a perfect plan that never leaves your desk. Creating a feedback habit is crucial to this process. Commit to regularly seeking input on your work, especially when it feels incomplete or unpolished. This not only improves your output, but also trains you to view criticism as a tool for growth, rather than a judgment of worth. As you begin to embrace action over perfection, you'll likely encounter resistance, both internal and external. Doubts will creep in, questioning whether you're truly ready to move forward. Colleagues or mentors might caution against rushing into things. It's important to recognize these voices for what they are: well-intentioned, but often misguided attempts to protect you from the discomfort of uncertainty. The reality is that true readiness comes through action, not preparation. By taking those first imperfect steps, you gain the experience and knowledge necessary to refine your approach. This iterative process of action, feedback, and adjustment is far more effective than any amount of theoretical planning. Consider the lean startup methodology popularized by Eric Ries. This approach emphasizes the importance of launching a minimum viable product, MVP, as quickly as possible, then iterating based on real-world feedback. Companies that have embraced this action-oriented philosophy have consistently outperformed those that spend months or years perfecting their product before launch. To build a bias for doing, start by creating instant start points in your projects. Instead of beginning with comprehensive planning sessions, identify the smallest possible action you can take immediately. This might be as simple as sending an email to a potential collaborator or sketching out a rough design on a napkin. The key is to get the ball rolling, no matter how small that initial push might be. Cultivating an adaptive mindset is equally important. Recognize that plans will change, unexpected challenges will arise, and opportunities you never anticipated will present themselves. By remaining flexible and open to adjustment, you can navigate these twists and turns without losing momentum. One effective way to strengthen this mental flexibility is through regular practice of small, low-stakes experiments. Challenge yourself to try new approaches in your daily life, whether it's taking a different route to work or using an unfamiliar tool to complete a task. These micro-adventures train your brain to embrace uncertainty and find creative solutions on the fly. As you begin to shift towards an action-oriented approach, you'll likely notice a profound change in your productivity and sense of accomplishment. Tasks that once seemed insurmountable begin to feel manageable. Ideas that languished in the planning stage for months suddenly come to life. Most importantly, you'll start to experience the thrill of real progress, fueling your motivation to tackle even bigger challenges. Remember, the goal is not to abandon planning entirely, but to find a balance between thoughtful preparation and decisive action. The most successful individuals and organizations are those that can quickly translate ideas into tangible steps, learn from the results, and iterate rapidly. As we conclude this chapter, it's important to recognize that embracing action over perfection is not a one-time decision, but an ongoing practice. There will be times when the allure of perfect planning tempts you back into inaction. In these moments, remind yourself of the cost of delay and the power of imperfect progress. The chapters that follow will build upon this foundation, providing you with specific strategies and tools to accelerate your progress and achieve quick wins in various aspects of your work and life. From the 1-hour launch technique to the power of micro-testing, each concept is designed to help you break free from the paralysis of perfectionism and start making real, measurable progress towards your goals. As you turn the page to the next chapter, consider this. What small, imperfect action can you take right now to move one of your ideas forward? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Your next big achievement starts with the decision to prioritize action over perfection. The time to begin is now. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2, 1 Hour Launch. Imagine standing at the edge of a diving board, peering down at the shimmering water below. The anticipation builds, your heart races, and for a moment, you're frozen in place. But then, something shifts. You take a deep breath, and without overthinking, you leap. That exhilarating plunge into the unknown is precisely what we're about to explore in this chapter. The 1 hour launch concept might sound intimidating at first. After all, how much can you really accomplish in just 60 minutes? But that's exactly the point. This method isn't about creating a polished, market-ready product in an hour. It's about harnessing the power of urgency to break through the barriers of perfectionism and indecision that so often hold us back. Think about the last time you faced a tight deadline. Remember how your focus sharpened, how distractions fell away, and how you managed to accomplish more than you thought possible in a short time? That's the essence of the 1 hour launch. It's about creating that same sense of urgency and focus, but on your own terms. But why 1 hour specifically? There's something almost magical about this time frame. It's long enough to make meaningful progress on a task, yet short enough to maintain intense focus throughout. More importantly, it's a commitment that feels manageable. Anyone can find an hour in their day, making this technique accessible to even the busiest individuals. The psychological impact of such a tight deadline is profound. When we give ourselves unlimited time to work on a project, we often fall into the trap of perfectionism. We tinker endlessly, second-guess our decisions, and get lost in the details. But when the clock is ticking, we're forced to make quick decisions and focus on what truly matters. This urgency cuts through indecision like a hot knife through butter. Suddenly, those endless what-ifs that plague our planning sessions become irrelevant. There's simply no time to entertain every possible scenario. Instead, we're compelled to trust our instincts and move forward. Now, you might be wondering what exactly you're supposed to launch in an hour. This is where the concept of choosing a single outcome comes into play. The key is to identify a clear, minimal objective that represents the core of your idea. This could be a rough prototype, a basic web page, or even a simple pitch deck. The goal isn't perfection, it's tangibility. Choosing this single outcome requires a shift in mindset. Instead of trying to address every aspect of your project, you need to zero in on the absolute essentials. What's the one thing that, if accomplished, would move your idea from the realm of thought into reality? For example, if you're developing a new app, your 1 hour launch might focus on creating a paper prototype of the main user interface. If you're writing a book, it could be drafting the opening paragraph and a basic chapter outline. The key is to choose something concrete that you can realistically accomplish in the allotted time. This process of scoping down to the essentials is a skill in itself. It forces you to critically evaluate your idea and identify its core components. What's the minimum viable version of your concept? What features or elements are truly necessary for this initial launch? One effective technique for narrowing your focus is the "if I could only do one thing" method. Ask yourself, if I could only accomplish one thing related to this project in the next hour, what would have the biggest impact? This question helps cut through the noise and identify your true priority. Once you've chosen your single outcome, it's time to prepare for the launch itself. This is where the hour block method comes into play. The first step is to create an environment that fosters uninterrupted focus. This means more than just finding a quiet space to work. It's about eliminating both digital and mental distractions. Start by turning off notifications on your devices. Close unnecessary browser tabs and applications. If possible, use a device or computer that's dedicated solely to this task, free from the temptations of social media or email. Some people find it helpful to use website blockers or apps that limit access to distracting sites during focused work periods. But physical distractions are only part of the equation. Mental clutter can be just as disruptive. Before you begin your hour, take a few minutes to clear your mind. Some find brief meditation helpful, while others prefer a quick walk or a few minutes of free writing to dump any lingering thoughts or worries. It's also crucial to gather all the tools and resources you'll need before the clock starts. Whether it's software, art supplies, or reference materials, have everything at hand. The goal is to eliminate any potential interruptions once you're in the zone. With your workspace prepared and your mind focused, it's time to dive into the heart of the 1-hour launch: execution under time pressure. This is where the rubber meets the road, and it can be both exhilarating and challenging. The key to success in this phase is to break down your chosen outcome into rapid mini steps. Before you start the timer, take a few minutes to outline these steps. They don't need to be detailed. Think of them as signposts guiding you through the hour. For instance, if you're creating a prototype, your mini steps might look like this. 1. Sketch basic layout, 10 minutes. 2. Define key features, 15 minutes. 3. Create rough wireframes, 25 minutes. 4. Add basic annotations, 10 minutes. Having this roadmap helps you stay on track and ensures you're making progress throughout the hour. As you work through these steps, it's important to embrace the concept of good enough. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. If a particular element isn't coming together as quickly as you'd hoped, make a quick decision and move on. You can always refine later. Staying on track when the clock is ticking can be challenging. One effective strategy is the Pomodoro technique, adapted for our 1-hour time frame. Break the hour into 4 15-minute segments with very brief 30-second breaks in between. These micro breaks can help refresh your focus without derailing your momentum. Another useful tactic is to verbalize your progress. Some find it helpful to narrate their actions out loud or to an imaginary audience. This not only helps maintain focus, but can also generate new ideas and connections as you articulate your thought process. As you approach the end of the hour, you might feel a surge of adrenaline. This is natural and can be incredibly productive. Many people find they accomplish their best work in these final minutes as the urgency peaks. Embrace this energy, but don't let it tempt you into overextending. When the timer goes off, stop. Now comes a crucial part of the 1-hour launch process: reviewing your quick output. It's important to approach this review with the right mindset. Remember, you're not looking for perfection. You're assessing what you've created for its potential and identifying clear next steps. Start by taking a step back and looking at your creation as a whole. What does it communicate about your core idea? Does it capture the essence of what you're trying to achieve? Even in its rough form, your output should give you a sense of whether your concept has legs. Next, consider some simple metrics or criteria to gauge the success of your launch. These will vary depending on your project, but might include questions like, does this solve the primary problem I identified? Could I explain this concept to someone else using what I've created? Does this generate excitement or new ideas when I look at it? It's equally important to isolate issues that need immediate improvement. Look for glaring gaps or areas where you struggled during the hour. These often point to aspects of your idea that need more thought or development. As you evaluate your output, resist the urge to immediately start fixing or expanding. Instead, make notes. List the top 3 to 5 things you'd improve or add if you had another hour. This list becomes the foundation for your next steps. Prioritizing these next steps is the final phase of the 1-hour launch process. Look at your list of potential improvements and ask yourself, which of these would have the biggest impact on moving my idea forward? Which addresses the most critical aspect of my concept? Sometimes, this review process reveals that your initial idea needs significant rethinking. That's okay. In fact, it's one of the strengths of the 1-hour launch method. By investing just an hour, you've gained valuable insights without sinking days or weeks into a flawed concept. If this is the case, consider how you might pivot or refine your idea for a fresh attempt. More often, though, you'll find that your quick launch has given you a solid starting point and clear direction for your next steps. In this case, schedule another quick cycle. This might be another 1-hour session focused on refining your initial output, or it could be a series of shorter sprints targeting specific improvements. The beauty of the 1-hour launch is its flexibility and repeatability. You can use this method at various stages of a project, from initial concept development to refining specific features. Each launch builds on the last, creating a rapid cycle of ideation, creation, and improvement. As we wrap up this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the power of this approach. By embracing urgency and focusing on tangible outcomes, you've found a way to bypass the paralysis of perfectionism. You've created something real, something you can touch, see, or interact with. And you've done it in just 1 hour. But the 1-hour launch is just the beginning. As you move forward, you'll discover how this method can be adapted and expanded to tackle even larger projects. You'll learn to break down complex ideas into manageable chunks, each amenable to the rapid launch approach. In the next chapter, we'll explore a concept that takes the idea of focused action even further. We'll delve into a strategy that not only accelerates your progress, but also sharpens your ability to identify what truly matters in your projects. Get ready to discover how less can indeed be more when it comes to bringing your ideas to life. Chapter 3, Tiny Scope. Have you ever stood at the foot of a mountain, gazing up at its imposing peak, feeling both awe and a twinge of intimidation? The journey to the summit seems daunting, almost impossible. But what if I told you there's a way to conquer that mountain, not by scaling it all at once, but by focusing on just the next step in front of you? This chapter introduces a concept that might initially seem counterintuitive. We're going to explore the power of thinking small. Really small. In fact, we're going to dive into the art of making your project scope so tiny that it almost feels insignificant. But don't be fooled by its size. This approach packs a powerful punch when it comes to getting things done. The idea of tiny scope might sound limiting at first. After all, aren't we taught to think big, to have grand visions and ambitious goals? While there's certainly value in having a big picture view, the reality is that many of us get stuck precisely because our vision is too expansive. We become overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of what we're trying to accomplish, and as a result, we often fail to start at all. This is where the magic of tiny scope comes into play. By narrowing our focus to the absolute essentials, we create a starting point that's not just manageable, but downright irresistible. It's like finding the loose thread on a tightly wound ball of yarn. Once you've got that initial grip, unraveling the rest becomes much easier. But what exactly do we mean by absolute essentials? This is where things get interesting. The core of Tiny Scope is about identifying the single most critical element of your project, the one thing that, if accomplished, would represent the heart of your idea. It's about stripping away all the extras, the nice-to-haves, and the someday maybes, and honing in on what truly matters. Think of it as distilling your project down to its purest form. Just as a chemist might extract the essential oils from a plant, leaving behind the excess material, you're extracting the essence of your idea. This process isn't always easy. It requires a willingness to let go of peripheral elements that you might be attached to. But the clarity and focus it provides are invaluable. So how do you go about defining this core element? It starts with asking yourself some tough questions. What's the single most important thing your project needs to accomplish? If you could only deliver one feature or aspect, what would it be? These questions force you to prioritize ruthlessly, cutting through the noise to identify what's truly essential. One effective method for pinpointing this central component is the 5 whys technique. Start with your project idea and ask, why is this important? Then take your answer and ask why again. Repeat this process 5 times, and you'll often find that you've drilled down to the core purpose or function of your project. As you work through this process, you'll likely encounter resistance from your own mind. It's natural to want to include more, to hedge your bets by covering all bases. But remember, the goal here isn't to create a comprehensive solution. It's to create a starting point. By focusing on just one core element, you lower the barriers to getting started and increase your chances of making tangible progress. This is where the concept of minimalism as leverage comes into play. By embracing a smaller scope, you're not limiting yourself. You're actually giving yourself more power. Smaller tasks are inherently less intimidating, which means you're more likely to start and, crucially, to finish them. This creates a positive feedback loop of accomplishment and motivation that can propel your project forward. Moreover, constraints can be a powerful creative force. When you limit your scope, you force yourself to think more creatively about how to achieve your core objective with limited resources. This often leads to innovative solutions that you might not have discovered if you were working with a broader scope. As you begin to embrace the tiny scope approach, you'll likely start noticing areas where your previous project plans were overly ambitious. This recognition of overreach is a crucial step in streamlining your efforts. There are several telltale signs that your initial scope might be too large. 1. You feel overwhelmed just thinking about starting the project. 2. You can't clearly explain the project's core purpose in a single sentence. 3. Your project plan includes numerous Phase 2 or future development sections. 4. You find yourself constantly adding new features or elements to the plan. If you recognize any of these signs in your current projects, don't worry. You're not alone. Project bloat is a common issue, but it's also one that can be addressed with some focused effort. One effective way to combat project bloat is to use simplification tools. These can be as straightforward as a checklist that helps you identify and eliminate non-essential elements, or as structured as a formal framework for project scoping. The key is to find a method that works for you and apply it consistently. A popular simplification tool is the Moscow method, which stands for must have, should have, could have, and won't have. By categorizing each element of your project into one of these 4 buckets, you can quickly identify what's truly essential, the must-haves, and what can be set aside, at least for now. Another useful approach is the MVP, or minimum viable product concept. This involves identifying the smallest possible version of your project that can still deliver value. By focusing on creating this MVP, you ensure that you're working on the most critical aspects first. As you work to eliminate excess from your project scope, you might find it helpful to create a not doing list alongside your to-do list. This can serve as a reminder of the elements you've consciously chosen to set aside, helping you stay focused on your core objectives. Now that we've narrowed our scope to its bare essentials, it's time to talk about actually launching this core element. This is where the rubber meets the road, and where many people still find themselves hesitating. After all, even a tiny scope can feel daunting when it comes time to release it into the world. This is where the concept of a micro deadline comes into play. Just as we've shrunk our project scope, we're going to shrink our timeline as well. Set yourself a strict, short deadline for completing and launching your core element. This could be a matter of days or even hours, depending on the nature of your project. The key here is to make the deadline short enough that it creates a sense of urgency, but not so short that it feels impossible. You want to challenge yourself without setting yourself up for failure. Remember, the goal is to create momentum and build confidence through quick wins. As you work towards this micro deadline, it's important to stay focused on your tiny scope. It can be tempting to start adding just one more thing, but resist this urge. Each addition, no matter how small, increases the complexity of your project and the likelihood of delays. Instead, channel that energy into refining and polishing your core element. Make it the best possible version of that one essential thing. This focused effort often results in a higher quality output than if you had spread your attention across multiple features or aspects. As you approach your launch, it's natural to feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. This is where many people falter, letting perfectionism creep back in and delay their launch. Remember, the purpose of this tiny scope approach is to get something out into the world quickly. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to exist. Once you've launched your core element, the next step is to gather immediate feedback. This is where the true power of the tiny scope approach becomes apparent. By launching quickly with a focused scope, you're able to start learning and iterating much faster than if you had waited to develop a more comprehensive version. This rapid feedback loop is crucial for several reasons. First, it helps validate or invalidate your core assumptions quickly. If you've truly identified the most critical element of your project, the feedback you receive should give you a good indication of whether you're on the right track. Second, it provides direction for your next steps. The feedback you receive will likely highlight areas for improvement or expansion, giving you a clear roadmap for future development. This organic growth based on real-world feedback is often more effective than trying to anticipate every need or feature in advance. Finally, this quick feedback can be incredibly motivating. Seeing real people interact with something you've created, even in its most basic form, can provide a powerful boost to your momentum and confidence. As you gather this feedback, it's important to maintain the discipline of your tiny scope approach. It can be tempting to immediately start implementing every suggestion or adding every requested feature. Instead, use the feedback to inform your next tiny scope cycle. What's the next most critical element you can add or improve? Focus on that and repeat the process. This iterative approach allows you to maintain the benefits of a focused scope while steadily growing and improving your project. It's like building a puzzle, one carefully chosen piece at a time, rather than trying to force all the pieces together at once. As we wrap up this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the power of this tiny scope approach. By focusing on the absolute essentials, you've found a way to bypass the paralysis that often comes with large, complex projects. You've created something real, something you can share and learn from, and you've done it by thinking small. But this is just the beginning. As you move forward with your newly honed ability to identify and execute on core essentials, you'll discover that this skill has applications far beyond individual projects. In fact, in our next chapter, we'll explore a concept that takes this focused approach to an entirely new level. Get ready to discover how the principles of tiny scope can be applied in ways you might never have imagined. We're about to venture into a realm where small doesn't just mean focused. It means lightning fast and incredibly insightful. Prepare to be surprised by just how much you can learn from the tiniest of experiments. Chapter 4, Microtesting. Imagine you're an explorer, standing at the edge of a vast, uncharted territory. The landscape before you is filled with potential treasures, but also hidden dangers. How do you decide which path to take? In the past, explorers might have spent months or even years planning elaborate expeditions, only to find their carefully laid plans crumbling in the face of unexpected realities. But what if there was a way to gain valuable insights about this new territory without risking everything on a single grand expedition? What if you could send out small, nimble scouting parties that could quickly report back with crucial information, allowing you to adjust your strategy in real time? This is the essence of what we'll explore in this chapter. We're about to delve into an approach that might seem counterintuitive at first, but has the power to revolutionize the way you approach new projects and ideas. It's an approach that embraces uncertainty, turns assumptions into testable hypotheses, and allows you to learn and adapt faster than you ever thought possible. At its core, this method is about thinking small to learn big. It's about breaking down your grand visions and ambitious plans into tiny, testable pieces. By doing so, you create opportunities for rapid learning and course correction, minimizing risk while maximizing your chances of success. But how exactly does this work in practice? It starts with a fundamental shift in mindset. Instead of trying to plan for every contingency or perfect every detail before launch, you focus on identifying and testing your most critical assumptions. These are the beliefs or predictions that, if proven wrong, would cause your entire project to fail. Think of these assumptions as the foundation of your idea. Just as an architect wouldn't build a skyscraper without first testing the ground it will stand on, you shouldn't invest heavily in a project without first validating its core premises. The trick is to test these foundations quickly and cheaply before you've invested significant time and resources. This is where the concept of micro comes into play. We're not talking about elaborate, time-consuming tests or expensive market research. Instead, we're looking at tiny experiments that can be set up and executed in a matter of days or even hours. These micro-tests are designed to give you just enough information to make an informed decision about your next step. The beauty of this approach is that it allows you to fail fast and fail cheap. And in the world of innovation and entrepreneurship, failing fast is often the quickest path to eventual success. Each microtest, whether it confirms or refutes your assumptions, provides valuable data that helps refine your idea and strategy. So how do you go about setting up these microtests? It starts with clearly defining your key assumption. This might sound simple, but it often requires deep reflection and brutal honesty. What is the one belief that your entire project hinges on? What's the riskiest assumption you're making? For example, if you're developing a new product, your key assumption might be that people are willing to pay for a solution to a particular problem. Or if you're starting a service-based business, your assumption might be that you can deliver the service at a cost that allows for profitability. Once you've identified this critical assumption, the next step is to design a simple test to validate or invalidate it. The key here is simplicity and speed. You're not trying to create a perfect representation of your final product or service. Instead, you're looking for the quickest, cheapest way to get meaningful feedback. This might involve creating a basic landing page to gauge interest in your product idea, or reaching out to a small group of potential customers for brief interviews. The specific form of your test will depend on your assumption and your resources, but the principle remains the same. Keep it small, keep it fast, and focus on learning. As you design your test, it's crucial to set clear goals for what you want to learn. What specific data or feedback would confirm or refute your assumption? How will you measure success or failure? Having these criteria defined in advance helps prevent the temptation to rationalize unfavorable results or move the goalposts after the fact. With your test designed and your goals set, it's time to execute. This is where many people hesitate, fearing that their test isn't perfect or comprehensive enough. But remember, the goal here isn't perfection. It's rapid learning. Launch your test quickly, even if it feels uncomfortably basic or unpolished. As you run your microtest, you'll enter into a short feedback cycle. This is where the real magic happens. Unlike traditional product development cycles that might take months or years, these feedback loops can be completed in days or even hours. This rapid iteration allows you to learn and adapt at an unprecedented pace. Collecting input for your microtest doesn't require a massive sample size or elaborate surveying techniques. In fact, you can often gain valuable insights from a surprisingly small pool of participants. The key is to focus on quality over quantity. Seek out individuals who represent your target audience and who are willing to provide honest, detailed feedback. When it comes to interpreting the results of your test, it's important to look for early signals rather than definitive proof. You're not aiming for statistical significance here. You're looking for directional indicators that can guide your next steps. Pay attention to trends and patterns in the feedback, even if they come from a small number of responses. This is where the art of microtesting really comes into play. Learning to recognize meaningful signals in limited data is a skill that develops with practice. It requires a balance of analytical thinking and intuition, as well as the ability to distinguish between noise and valuable insights. As you analyze your results, you may find yourself at a crossroads. This is the moment of truth in the micro-testing process, the point where you must decide whether to pivot, kill, or continue with your idea. It's a decision that can feel weighty, But remember, the whole point of microtesting is to make these decisions early before you've invested significant resources. If your test results are promising, it might be time to double down on your idea, perhaps by expanding your test or moving forward with development. If the results are mixed, you might need to pivot, adjusting your approach based on what you've learned. And if the results clearly invalidate your core assumption, it might be time to kill the idea and move on to something new. The key here is to make this decision quickly and decisively. Avoid the temptation to enter into prolonged internal debates or to seek out additional data when you already have enough to act on. Remember, the power of microtesting lies in its speed and agility. Dragging out the decision-making process negates these advantages. To help guide your decision, it can be useful to establish objective metrics in advance. These could be specific numbers, like a certain percentage of positive responses, or qualitative criteria, like enthusiastic feedback from a particular type of user. Having these benchmarks in place helps remove emotion from the equation and allows for more rational decision-making. Regardless of which path you choose, pivot, kill, or continue, the most important thing is to have a clear next action. If you're continuing, what's the next assumption you need to test? If you're pivoting, what specific changes will you make, and how will you test their effectiveness? And if you're killing the idea, how will you apply what you've learned to your next project? As you become more comfortable with the micro-testing process, you'll likely find that it becomes a natural part of your approach to new ideas and projects. You'll develop an instinct for breaking down big concepts into testable hypotheses, and you'll become adept at designing quick, effective experiments to validate your assumptions. This iterative, hypothesis-driven approach to execution can be transformative. It allows you to move forward with confidence, knowing that each step is grounded in real-world feedback rather than mere speculation. It helps you avoid the pitfalls of overplanning and analysis paralysis, keeping you in a state of constant, productive action. Moreover, the skills you develop through microtesting, rapid experimentation, quick decision-making, and adaptive strategy are invaluable in today's fast-paced, ever-changing business environment. They allow you to stay nimble and responsive, adapting to new challenges and opportunities as they arise. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on how this approach might apply to your current projects or ideas. What assumptions are you making that could benefit from a quick, low-stakes test? How might you design a micro-experiment to validate these assumptions? Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all uncertainty. That's impossible in the real world. Instead, it's about embracing uncertainty and using it as a tool for learning and growth. By thinking small and testing fast, you can navigate the complexities of innovation with greater confidence and effectiveness. But microtesting is just the beginning. As powerful as this approach is, it's part of a larger strategy for rapid, effective execution. In our next chapter, we'll explore a concept that takes the insights gained from microtesting and amplifies them exponentially. Get ready to discover how a simple shift in your feedback approach can unlock unprecedented levels of learning and growth. The path ahead is about to get even more exciting and surprisingly social. Chapter 5: Rapid Feedback. Imagine you're piloting a speedboat, cutting through the waves at breakneck speed. The wind is in your hair, the sun on your face, and the thrill of velocity courses through your veins. But there's a catch. Your navigation system only updates once an hour. How confident would you feel about reaching your destination safely and efficiently? Now, picture the same scenario, but this time your navigation system updates in real time, constantly providing you with the most current information about your position, speed, and surrounding conditions. Suddenly, that high-speed journey becomes not just exhilarating, but precise and purposeful. This analogy captures the essence of what we're about to explore in this chapter. We're going to dive into a concept that has the power to transform the way you approach projects, decisions, and even personal growth. It's an idea that might seem simple on the surface, but when applied consistently, it can lead to extraordinary results. At its core, This chapter is about harnessing the power of information, not just any information, but the kind that's fresh, relevant, and actionable. It's about creating a system that allows you to navigate the complex waters of your projects and ideas with the agility of that well-equipped speedboat. But what exactly do we mean by rapid? In today's fast-paced world, even feedback that comes within a few days or weeks might seem quick. However, we're talking about something far more immediate. We're talking about insights that flow in almost as quickly as you can formulate your questions or ideas. The power of this approach lies in its ability to keep you constantly aligned with reality. In traditional project management or product development, there's often a significant lag between when decisions are made and when their impacts are felt. This delay can lead to a dangerous disconnect between your assumptions and the actual needs or preferences of your audience. Consider the costs of late discovery. How often have you poured time, energy, and resources into a project only to find out much later that a fundamental assumption was flawed? The longer you work based on incorrect assumptions, the more deeply those mistakes become embedded in your work. It's like building a house on a faulty foundation. The higher you build, the more catastrophic the potential collapse. This is where the concept of immediate validation becomes crucial. By seeking and receiving feedback early and often, you create opportunities for course correction before you've invested too heavily in any particular direction. It's like having a team of surveyors constantly checking and rechecking your foundation as you build, allowing you to make adjustments before small issues become major problems. But the benefits of this approach go beyond just avoiding mistakes. Ongoing input keeps your ideas fluid and adaptable. In a world where market conditions, technologies, and consumer preferences are constantly shifting, this flexibility is invaluable. It allows you to evolve your projects in real time, staying ahead of trends rather than struggling to catch up. Moreover, consistent external viewpoints help prevent blind spots. We all have our biases and preconceptions, and it's easy to become so immersed in our own vision that we miss obvious flaws or opportunities. Regular, rapid feedback acts as a reality check, challenging our assumptions and broadening our perspective. So how do we go about building this system of rapid feedback? It starts with establishing fast channels for communication. In the digital age, we're fortunate to have a plethora of tools at our disposal for near-instant collaboration. The key is to choose platforms that are easily accessible and encourage quick, frequent interactions. This might mean setting up a dedicated chat group for your project team where ideas can be shared and discussed in real time. Or it could involve using survey tools that allow you to quickly poll your target audience on specific aspects of your project. The exact tools you use will depend on your specific needs and context, but the principle remains the same. Make it as easy as possible for feedback to flow quickly and freely. When setting up these channels, it's important to create designated spaces for each project or aspect of your work. This helps prevent information overload and ensures that feedback remains focused and relevant. It also allows you to tailor your approach to different stakeholders or types of input you're seeking. Once you have your channels established, the next crucial step is learning to formulate targeted questions. The quality of the feedback you receive is directly related to the quality of the questions you ask. Vague or overly broad queries often lead to equally vague and unhelpful responses. Instead, focus on crafting short, specific questions that zero in on particular aspects of your project. For example, rather than asking, "What do you think of my new product idea?" you might ask, "How likely would you be to use this specific feature on a daily basis?" The more precise your questions, the more actionable the feedback you'll receive. It's also important to vary your questions to cover different angles of your project. While you want to avoid overwhelming your feedback providers, you also don't want to miss important insights by focusing too narrowly. Strike a balance by prioritizing your most critical questions and rotating through different aspects over time. As you begin to receive feedback through these channels, the real challenge and opportunity begins. The true power of rapid feedback lies not just in receiving information quickly, but in acting on it swiftly. This is where many traditional approaches fall short. Feedback is collected, but then sits idle, waiting for the next scheduled review or update cycle. In contrast, the rapid feedback approach demands a commitment to immediate action. This doesn't mean you should reactively implement every suggestion you receive. Rather, it's about quickly assessing the input, identifying patterns or particularly insightful comments, and determining how to integrate this new information into your project. One effective strategy is to establish a simple system for categorizing feedback as it comes in. This might involve tagging comments as urgent, interesting for future consideration, or requires further investigation. This initial sorting helps you prioritize your responses and ensures that critical insights don't get lost in the shuffle. When it comes to actually integrating changes based on feedback, speed is again of the essence. The goal is to create a streamlined update process that allows you to implement improvements quickly without creating bottlenecks or disrupting your overall workflow. This might involve setting aside specific time blocks for making adjustments or designating team members responsible for rapidly prototyping changes based on feedback. An often overlooked but crucial aspect of the rapid feedback process is closing the loop with your contributors. When people provide feedback, they're investing their time and energy into your project. Acknowledging their input and showing how it's been used not only shows respect for their contribution, but also encourages ongoing engagement. This doesn't have to be an elaborate process. A quick message saying, "Thanks for your suggestion about X. We've implemented it in the latest version," can go a long way. Not only does this make contributors feel valued, but it also reinforces the idea that feedback leads to real, tangible changes. This, in turn, encourages more frequent and thoughtful input in the future. As you become more adept at this rapid feedback approach, you'll likely find that it becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. Quick responses lead to more engaged contributors, which leads to higher quality feedback, which enables better and faster improvements. It's a virtuous cycle that can dramatically accelerate your progress and the quality of your output. However, it's important to note that implementing a rapid feedback system isn't without its challenges. One common pitfall is becoming overwhelmed by the sheer volume of input. Remember, the goal isn't to act on every piece of feedback, but to quickly identify and respond to the most valuable insights. Another potential challenge is maintaining consistency in your vision while remaining responsive to feedback. It's a delicate balance. You want to be open to new ideas and perspectives, but not to the point where your project loses its core identity or purpose. This is where strong leadership and a clear overall vision become crucial. Use feedback to refine and improve your approach, not to constantly change direction. As you practice and refine your rapid feedback system, you'll likely find that it begins to influence not just your current project, but your entire approach to work and problem solving. You'll develop a heightened sensitivity to real-world input and a greater agility in responding to changing conditions. This adaptability is invaluable in today's fast-paced, ever-evolving business landscape. Moreover, the skills you develop through this process, active listening, quick analysis, and responsive action, have applications far beyond project management. They can enhance your personal relationships, improve your decision-making in all areas of life, and make you a more effective leader and collaborator. As we wrap up this chapter, take a moment to reflect on your current feedback processes. How long does it typically take for you to receive and act on input? What bottlenecks or barriers exist in your current system? Consider how you might apply the principles we've discussed to create faster, more effective feedback loops in your work and life. Remember, the goal of rapid feedback isn't just to move faster, it's to move smarter. By creating a system that keeps you constantly aligned with reality and responsive to change, you set yourself up for sustained success and innovation. But as powerful as rapid feedback is, it's just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to achieving quick wins and sustained success. In our next chapter, we'll explore a concept that takes the momentum generated by rapid feedback and amplifies it exponentially. Get ready to discover how a simple shift in perspective can turn even the smallest victories into powerful catalysts for growth and achievement. The path ahead is about to get even more exciting and surprisingly addictive. Chapter 6: Stack Wins. Imagine you're standing at the base of a towering skyscraper, craning your neck to see its pinnacle disappearing into the clouds. The sheer scale of it is awe-inspiring, perhaps even a little intimidating. Now, consider how such a monumental structure came to be. It wasn't erected in a single Herculean effort. Instead, it rose gradually, floor by floor, each level building upon the last until it reached its impressive height. This image captures the essence of what we're about to explore in this chapter. We're going to delve into a concept that has the power to transform the way you approach your goals and projects, turning even the most daunting ambitions into achievable realities. It's an approach that harnesses the power of incremental progress, turning small victories into a force that can propel you to extraordinary heights. At its core, this chapter is about momentum, but not just any kind of momentum. We're talking about a specific type of forward motion that builds upon itself, growing stronger and more powerful with each step. It's about creating a self-reinforcing cycle of progress that not only moves you closer to your goals, but also fuels your motivation and confidence along the way. But what exactly do we mean by stacking wins? The concept might seem simple at first glance, but its implications are profound. It's not just about achieving a series of successes. It's about deliberately structuring those successes so that each one naturally leads to and amplifies the next. It's about creating a chain reaction of achievement that can transform your entire approach to goal setting and execution. The power of this approach lies in its ability to shift your mindset from seeing success as a series of isolated events to viewing it as a continuous, interconnected process. When you stack your wins, you're not just ticking items off a to-do list. You're building a foundation for future achievements, each success becoming a stepping stone to the next. Consider the psychological impact of this shift. How often have you achieved a goal only to feel a momentary sense of satisfaction before immediately moving on to the next challenge, without fully appreciating or leveraging what you've just accomplished? This one-and-done mentality can lead to a cycle of constant striving without ever feeling truly successful or satisfied. In contrast, the stacking wins approach encourages you to fully acknowledge and build upon each success, no matter how small. This creates a powerful momentum effect, where each small victory recharges your enthusiasm and motivation for the next task. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, gathering size and speed as it goes. But how do we harness this momentum in practical terms? It starts with documentation. The simple act of recording your successes, no matter how minor they might seem, can have a profound impact on your motivation and progress. This isn't about keeping a detailed journal or creating elaborate reports. It's about developing a habit of acknowledging and capturing your wins in a way that makes them tangible and visible. This documentation can take many forms. It might be a simple list in a notebook, a digital tracker on your phone, or even a visual representation like a progress bar or a jar filled with marbles, one for each accomplishment. The key is to find a method that resonates with you and makes your progress visible and undeniable. When documenting your wins, it's important to track both quantitative and qualitative markers of success. Quantitative metrics might include things like tasks completed, milestones reached, or numerical goals achieved. Qualitative markers, on the other hand, might capture improvements in skills, positive feedback received, or moments of insight and breakthrough. This comprehensive approach to win documentation serves multiple purposes. First, it provides concrete evidence of your progress, which can be incredibly motivating, especially during times when you might feel stuck or discouraged. There's something powerful about being able to look back and see a growing list of achievements, no matter how small each individual item might be. Secondly, this documentation creates a valuable resource for analysis and learning. By keeping track of your successes, you create a database of what works for you. This leads us to the next crucial step in the stacking wins process: analyzing what worked. Take time to regularly review your documented wins and look for patterns. What tactics or approaches consistently led to positive outcomes? What conditions or factors were present when you achieved your best results? This analysis allows you to identify your strengths and the strategies that are most effective for you. This step is about more than just celebrating your successes, though that's important too. It's about extracting lessons and insights that you can apply to future challenges. By understanding what contributed to your past wins, you can make more informed decisions about how to approach upcoming tasks and goals. Once you've identified these winning tactics and strategies, the next step is to consciously apply them to your next phase of work. This is where the stacking really comes into play. Instead of starting each new project or goal from scratch, you're building on a foundation of proven success. This approach creates a continuum of progress where each achievement is not an endpoint, but a launching pad for the next level of success. It's about deliberately structuring your goals and tasks so that they build upon each other, creating a natural flow from one accomplishment to the next. For example, if you've identified that breaking tasks into small, manageable chunks was a key factor in your recent successes, you might apply this strategy more intentionally to your next big project. Or, if you found that seeking regular feedback led to better outcomes, you might build more structured feedback loops into your upcoming initiatives. By consciously linking your achievements in this way, you create a sense of forward momentum that can be incredibly powerful. Each success feels like a natural progression from the last, reinforcing your confidence and motivation. This momentum can help carry you through challenges and setbacks, as you have tangible evidence of your ability to overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. Moreover, this approach of building on strengths and proven tactics allows you to refine and improve your methods over time. Each iteration becomes an opportunity to tweak and optimize your approach, leading to increasingly better results. It's a process of continuous improvement, where you're not just repeating what worked before, but actively seeking ways to enhance and build upon your previous successes. As you begin to stack your wins and experience this growing momentum, it's important to celebrate your progress along the way. However, this celebration needs to be balanced and purposeful. The goal is not to rest on your laurels or become complacent, but to use these moments of recognition as fuel for future action. This is where the concept of sustainable recognition comes into play. It's about acknowledging your achievements in a way that reinforces your motivation and commitment to continued growth. This might involve taking a moment to reflect on how far you've come, sharing your progress with supportive peers, or rewarding yourself in small, meaningful ways. The key is to make these celebrations forward-looking. As you acknowledge each win, immediately set your sights on the next challenge. This creates a rhythm of achievement and aspiration that keeps you moving forward. It's like climbing a staircase. You pause briefly on each step to acknowledge your progress, but your eyes are already on the next level. This approach naturally reinforces a growth mindset, the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. By consistently documenting, analyzing, and building upon your successes, you create concrete evidence of your capacity for growth and improvement. This evidence becomes a powerful tool for combating self-doubt and maintaining motivation in the face of challenges. As you become more adept at stacking your wins, you may find that this approach influences not just your individual projects, but your entire outlook on personal and professional development. You start to see opportunities for growth and improvement everywhere, constantly looking for ways to build on your successes and push your boundaries. This mindset can be contagious in the best possible way. As you share your progress and approach with peers and colleagues, you may find that they too become inspired to adopt a similar strategy. This can create a positive, growth-oriented culture in your workplace or personal networks, where everyone is encouraged to acknowledge their progress and build upon their strengths. However, it's important to note that stacking wins isn't about creating unrealistic pressure or setting impossibly high standards. It's about recognizing and leveraging the power of incremental progress. Some wins will be bigger than others, and there will inevitably be setbacks along the way. The key is to maintain a consistent focus on forward movement, no matter how small each step might be. As you practice and refine your approach to stacking wins, you'll likely find that it becomes second nature. You'll develop a heightened awareness of your progress and achievements and a natural inclination to build upon each success. This can lead to a profound shift in how you approach challenges and opportunities, turning even the most daunting goals into a series of achievable, interconnected steps. Moreover, the skills you develop through this process, self-reflection, strategic thinking, and continuous improvement, have applications far beyond individual goal achievement. They can enhance your leadership abilities, improve your problem-solving skills, and make you more adaptable in the face of change and uncertainty. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on your recent achievements, no matter how small they might seem. How might you build upon these successes in your next endeavor? What lessons or strategies can you carry forward? Consider how you might start documenting and analyzing your wins more systematically, creating your own momentum of success. Remember, the power of stacking wins lies not just in the achievements themselves, but in the mindset and approach it cultivates. By viewing each success as a building block for the next, you create a self-reinforcing cycle of growth and achievement that can propel you to heights you might never have thought possible. But as powerful as stacking wins can be, it's just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to achieving sustained success and rapid progress. In our next chapter, we'll explore a concept that takes the momentum you've built and supercharges it, creating a force that can propel you forward with unprecedented speed and efficiency. Get ready to discover how a simple shift in your approach to progress can unlock levels of productivity and achievement you never thought possible. The journey ahead is about to accelerate in ways you can't yet imagine. Chapter 7, Momentum Boost. Imagine you're riding a bicycle up a long, winding hill. At first, each pedal stroke feels like a monumental effort, but as you continue, something magical happens. Your rhythm steadies, your muscles warm up, and suddenly you find yourself gliding upward with surprising ease. This is the power of momentum, a force that once harnessed can carry you far beyond what you thought possible. In this chapter, we're going to explore a concept that takes this idea of momentum and supercharges it. We're not just talking about maintaining forward motion, we're diving into the art of amplifying it, creating a self-sustaining engine of progress that propels you towards your goals with unprecedented speed and efficiency. But what exactly do we mean by a boost? It's more than just a sudden burst of energy or a temporary spike in productivity. We're talking about a systematic approach to sustaining and amplifying the energy created by your quick wins. It's about creating a continuous flow of progress that not only moves you forward, but actually gains speed and power as you go. The key to this approach lies in understanding the delicate balance between pushing forward and avoiding burnout. It's about finding that sweet spot where you're consistently challenging yourself without overextending. This balance is crucial because while momentum is powerful, it's also fragile. Push too hard and you risk exhaustion. Move too slowly and you might lose the very momentum you're trying to build. So how do we strike this balance? It starts with a fundamental shift in how we approach our goals and tasks. Instead of focusing solely on big, distant objectives, we break them down into frequent, bite-sized milestones. This isn't about lowering your ambitions. It's about creating a path of constant, achievable progress that keeps you motivated and engaged. Think about structuring your projects around short intervals, daily or weekly targets that provide a steady stream of accomplishments. These aren't just arbitrary checkpoints, they're carefully designed stepping stones that lead you towards your larger goals. Each one should be substantial enough to feel meaningful, yet small enough to be achievable within a short time frame. For example, if you're working on a major project, you might set daily targets for specific components or tasks. These could be as simple as complete the outline for Section A or review and refine the first draft of Chapter 2. The key is to make these targets concrete and measurable so you can clearly see and feel your progress each day. This approach of frequent milestones serves multiple purposes. First, it provides a constant sense of forward motion. Instead of feeling like you're slogging through an endless task, you're regularly crossing finish lines, no matter how small. This frequent sense of completion is incredibly motivating and helps maintain your enthusiasm over the long haul. Secondly, it allows for more flexible and responsive planning. By breaking your work into smaller chunks, you can more easily adjust your approach based on what you learn along the way. If one method isn't working as well as you'd hoped, you can pivot quickly without feeling like you've derailed your entire project. However, it's important to strike a balance here. While frequent milestones are powerful, you don't want to overwhelm yourself with an endless list of tasks. The goal is to maintain a steady pace, not to create a frenetic rush from one deadline to the next. This is where the art of balancing multiple small wins comes into play. One effective strategy is to vary the types and complexity of your daily or weekly targets. Mix straightforward, easily achievable tasks with more challenging ones. This variety not only keeps things interesting, but also allows you to maintain momentum even on days when you might not have the energy or time for more demanding work. As you become more adept at hitting these frequent milestones, you'll likely find that your capacity for tackling more complex tasks increases. This is where the concept of steady incremental challenges comes in. Gradually increase the complexity or scope of your targets over time. This progressive challenge keeps your engagement high and prevents the boredom or complacency that can come from too much routine. Think of it like a video game, where each level is slightly more difficult than the last. You're constantly building on your skills and accomplishments, pushing yourself just a little bit further each time. This gradual increase in difficulty is key to avoiding plateaus, those frustrating periods where you feel stuck or stagnant. One effective technique for implementing these incremental challenges is the +1 method. Each week or month, add one new element or increase the difficulty of one aspect of your regular tasks. This could mean taking on a slightly larger project, incorporating a new skill into your work, or pushing yourself to complete a familiar task in less time. As you implement these strategies for maintaining a high pace, it's crucial to remain vigilant about the risk of burnout. The line between productive momentum and exhausting overextension can be thin, and crossing it can derail your progress significantly. Learning to recognize the signs of overextension is a vital skill. These signs can be subtle and vary from person to person, but common indicators include a persistent feeling of fatigue, decreased productivity despite increased effort, difficulty concentrating, or a loss of enthusiasm for tasks you usually enjoy. It's important to pay attention to both physical and mental cues. Your body and mind will often signal when you're pushing too hard. Strategies for managing workload and stress levels are essential components of sustaining momentum. This might involve techniques like time blocking, where you allocate specific periods for different types of work, ensuring a balance between focused effort and necessary breaks. It could also include regular check-ins with yourself to assess your energy levels and adjust your pace accordingly. One often overlooked aspect of maintaining momentum is the importance of building recovery elements into your process. This isn't about taking long breaks or stepping away from your goals. It's about incorporating short, strategic pauses that refresh your mind and reinvigorate your motivation. These recovery elements could take many forms. It might be short meditation sessions between tasks, brief periods of physical activity to get your blood flowing, or even moments of creative play unrelated to your main work. The key is to find activities that provide a mental shift, allowing you to return to your tasks with renewed focus and energy. Ensuring reflection time is another crucial aspect of this recovery process. Regular moments of contemplation, allow you to maintain clarity about your goals and progress. This might involve end-of-day reviews where you assess what you've accomplished and plan for the next day, or weekly reflection sessions where you evaluate your overall direction and make any necessary adjustments. As you develop these strategies for maintaining momentum and preventing burnout, you'll likely find that certain routines and habits emerge as particularly effective for you. This is where the power of habit formation for quick wins comes into play. Adopting daily routines that prime you for immediate action can significantly boost your momentum. These routines act as triggers, signaling to your brain that it's time to enter a productive state. They might include simple rituals like organizing your workspace at the start of each day, reviewing your goals each morning, or even just putting on specific work clothes that you associate with focused effort. The key to effective habit formation is consistency and intentionality. Start small, with 1 or 2 simple habits, and gradually build from there. Pay attention to what works for you and be willing to adjust your routines as needed. Remember, the goal is to create habits that support and enhance your momentum, not to add unnecessary complexity to your day. Tracking these habits and their impact on your progress is crucial for ongoing improvement. Simple tools like habit trackers or productivity journals can be incredibly useful here. They allow you to see patterns in your behavior and identify which habits are most effective in boosting your momentum. Visualizing your progress is another powerful tool for maintaining and amplifying momentum. Simple tracking tools like progress bars, checklists, or even physical representations like moving marbles from one jar to another can provide a tangible sense of advancement. These visual indicators serve as constant reminders of how far you've come, fueling your motivation to keep pushing forward. Regular reviews are essential for identifying friction points, those areas where your momentum tends to slow or stall. Set up weekly or monthly review sessions where you analyze your progress, celebrate your wins, and pinpoint areas for improvement. These reviews aren't just about tracking metrics. They're opportunities to reconnect with your larger goals and ensure that your daily efforts are aligned with your overall vision. As you implement these strategies and develop your own momentum-boosting routines, you'll likely find that your capacity for sustained, high-level performance increases dramatically. You'll develop a kind of productive inertia, where moving forward becomes your default state, and each accomplishment naturally leads to the next. But remember, the goal isn't just to move fast, it's to move smart. The momentum you're building should be directed towards meaningful objectives, not just busy work. Regularly step back to ensure that your accelerated pace is taking you in the right direction. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on your current approach to maintaining momentum. How might you incorporate more frequent milestones into your work? What small habits could you develop to prime yourself for quick wins each day? Consider how you might start visualizing your progress more effectively, creating a constant reminder of your forward motion. Remember, the power of momentum boost lies not just in moving faster, but in creating a sustainable, self-reinforcing cycle of progress and motivation. By breaking down your goals into bite-sized pieces, celebrating frequent wins, and building supportive habits, you create an unstoppable force that can carry you to heights you might never have thought possible. But as powerful as this momentum boost can be, it's just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to achieving lasting success and impact. In our next chapter, we'll explore a concept that takes the speed and efficiency you've developed and applies it on a much grander scale. Get ready to discover how the principles we've discussed can be leveraged not just for personal projects, but for transforming entire organizations and industries. The journey ahead is about to expand in ways that might surprise you, and the impact you're capable of making is far greater than you might imagine. Chapter 8, Scale Tactics. Imagine you've discovered a secret recipe for success. It's a formula that has transformed your personal projects, skyrocketing your productivity, and turning your ideas into reality faster than you ever thought possible. Now, picture yourself standing at the helm of a large organization or leading a growing team. The question that looms before you is both exciting and daunting. How can you take this magic formula and apply it not just to your own work, but to an entire group, product line, or even a whole company? This is the challenge we're tackling in this chapter. We're about to embark on a journey that will take the principles of quick wins and rapid execution we've explored so far and elevate them to a whole new level. We're moving from the realm of personal productivity into the arena of organizational transformation. But what exactly do we mean by scale? It's more than just doing more of the same or growing bigger. Scaling is about amplifying impact while maintaining or even improving efficiency. It's about taking what works on a small scale and finding ways to replicate that success across larger, more complex systems without losing the essence of what made it effective in the first place. The concept of scaling tactics is particularly powerful because it allows you to leverage the momentum you've built on an individual level and use it to drive change on a much grander scale. It's like taking a small spark and turning it into a roaring fire that can power an entire engine of progress. However, scaling isn't as simple as just applying your personal strategies to a larger group. As organizations grow, they often face challenges that can slow them down: bureaucracy, communication barriers, and the inertia of established processes. The key to successful scaling is finding ways to maintain the agility and speed of small-scale operations even as you expand. So, how do we begin this process of scaling our quick win approach? It starts with a careful examination of what's worked best for you on an individual level. Think back to the projects where you've seen the most rapid, impactful results. What specific processes or approaches led to those outcomes? These are the gems you'll want to polish and replicate as you scale up. Once you've identified these effective wins, the next step is to systematize them. This doesn't mean creating rigid, inflexible rules. Instead, it's about developing clear, straightforward guidelines that capture the essence of your successful approaches in a way that others can easily understand and adopt. For example, if you found that setting daily micro goals has been crucial to your personal success, you might develop a simple checklist or template that team members can use to set and track their own daily objectives. The key is to make these systems easy to implement and adaptable to different contexts. As you begin to roll out these systems across your team or organization, it's crucial to protect the agility that made your original approach so effective. This often means rethinking traditional organizational structures and decision-making processes. Instead of centralizing all decisions, look for ways to empower individuals and small teams to make quick, informed choices without getting bogged down in lengthy approval processes. One effective strategy for maintaining agility as you scale is to create small, cross-functional teams that can operate with a high degree of autonomy. These teams can apply the quick win principles to their specific projects or areas of responsibility while still aligning with the broader goals of the organization. Another important aspect of scaling tactics is adapting your quick win methods for team use. This often involves breaking down larger projects into smaller, manageable chunks that can be tackled by different team members or sub-teams. By doing this, you create multiple opportunities for quick wins across the organization, maintaining the motivational boost that comes from frequent successes. When allocating roles and tasks in this scaled-up environment, it's important to balance specialization with flexibility. While you want team members to leverage their specific skills and expertise, you also need to foster an environment where people can quickly pivot to new tasks or collaborate across traditional boundaries when needed. Building a culture that values fast action is crucial for preserving agility as you grow. This doesn't mean encouraging recklessness or sacrificing quality. Rather, it's about creating an environment where calculated risks are encouraged, where failure is seen as a learning opportunity rather than a catastrophe, and where the bias is always towards action rather than endless deliberation. One way to reinforce this culture is through regular sharing of quick wins and lessons learned. This could take the form of brief daily stand-ups where team members share their progress and challenges, or weekly showcases where different groups present their rapid experiments and results. As you work to systematize what works, it's important to strike a balance between consistency and flexibility. While you want to create repeatable processes that can be easily adopted across the organization, you also need to leave room for adaptation and innovation. One approach to achieving this balance is to create flexible templates or frameworks rather than rigid procedures. These templates should capture the core principles of your quick win approach while allowing for customization based on specific team needs or project requirements. For example, you might develop a basic template for rapid prototyping that outlines the key steps and principles, but allows each team to adapt the specifics based on their particular product or market. This ensures a consistent approach across the organization, while still allowing for the creativity and adaptability needed to address diverse challenges. Ongoing optimization is crucial as you scale your tactics. What works perfectly for a small team might need adjustment as you grow. Set up regular review processes to assess the effectiveness of your scaled tactics and make necessary tweaks. This might involve tracking key metrics like project completion times, customer feedback cycles, or the frequency of successful launches. Be prepared to pivot quickly if certain approaches aren't translating well to the larger scale. The agility you've cultivated should extend to your overall strategy as well. If a particular tactic isn't working, don't be afraid to abandon it and try something new. As you scale, efficient resource allocation becomes increasingly important. You'll need to develop approaches for distributing people and budgets in a way that supports your quick win philosophy. This often means prioritizing projects and tasks that can yield immediate feedback or results over long, untested efforts. Consider implementing a system of rapid funding cycles for new initiatives. Instead of allocating large budgets to long-term projects, break funding into smaller chunks tied to specific short-term milestones. This allows you to quickly assess the viability of new ideas and either scale them up or pivot based on early results. When it comes to human resources, look for ways to create flexible teams that can quickly form around new opportunities or challenges. This might involve creating a pool of skilled generalists who can be rapidly deployed to different projects as needed, supplemented by specialists who can provide deep expertise in specific areas. One of the biggest challenges in scaling quick win tactics is maintaining speed without sacrificing quality. As you grow, it's important to clearly define what constitutes acceptable quality for different types of outputs. This isn't about lowering standards, but about understanding what level of polish is truly necessary for each stage of a project. For instance, you might set different quality thresholds for internal prototypes versus customer-facing products. The key is to find the sweet spot where you're moving fast enough to maintain momentum and gather quick feedback, but not so fast that you're putting out subpar work that could damage your reputation or require extensive rework later. Implementing a system of rapid quality checks can help balance speed and quality. These might be brief, focused reviews at key points in the development process designed to catch major issues without slowing down the overall pace of work. As you implement these scale tactics, you'll likely encounter resistance from those accustomed to more traditional, slower-paced approaches. This is where strong leadership and clear communication become crucial. Be prepared to articulate the benefits of your quick win approach and to demonstrate its effectiveness through early successes. It's also important to recognize that scaling isn't a one-time event, but an ongoing process. As your organization grows and evolves, you'll need to continually reassess and adjust your tactics. Stay connected to the front lines of your operations, regularly seeking feedback from team members at all levels to understand what's working and what needs refinement. Remember, the goal of scaling tactics isn't just to make your organization bigger, it's to make it more effective, more responsive, and more innovative. By successfully scaling your quick win approach, you create an organization that can adapt rapidly to new challenges and opportunities, staying ahead in an ever-changing business landscape. As you implement these strategies, you may find that they have impacts far beyond just improving efficiency or speed. They can transform the very culture of your organization, creating a more dynamic, engaged workforce that's constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Moreover, as you master the art of scaling quick wins, you open up possibilities for growth and impact that might have seemed unimaginable before. Projects that once would have taken years can be accomplished in months. Ideas that might have languished in planning stages can be rapidly prototyped, tested, and brought to market. But as powerful as these scale tactics can be, they're just the beginning of what's possible when you fully embrace the philosophy of quick wins and rapid execution. In our final chapter, we'll explore how these principles can be applied not just to current projects or organizations, but to shaping the very future of your work and impact. Get ready to discover how the strategies we've discussed can be leveraged to anticipate and create the future, rather than just reacting to it. We're about to venture into territory where the lines between present and future blur, and where your capacity to influence and innovate expands exponentially. The journey ahead will challenge you to think bigger than ever before and to act faster than you ever thought possible. Chapter 9: Beyond Quick Wins. As we reach the final chapter of our journey, it's time to look beyond the horizon of immediate victories and explore how the principles we've discussed can shape not just our present actions, but our entire future. We've learned how to sprint, how to stack our wins, and how to scale our successes. Now, we're going to discover how to turn these skills into a lifelong strategy for continuous growth and innovation. The concept of beyond quick wins might seem paradoxical at first. After all, we've spent this entire book focusing on the power of rapid action and immediate results. But here's the key insight. The true power of quick wins isn't just in the short-term achievements they bring. It's in how they can fundamentally reshape our approach to long-term success and innovation. Think of it this way. Each quick win is like a brushstroke in a masterpiece. Individually, they might seem small and insignificant, but when combined over time, with intention and skill, they create something far greater than the sum of their parts. This is the essence of what we're exploring in this chapter: how to turn the habit of quick wins into a sustainable, long-term strategy for success. The first step in this process is to integrate the spirit of speed and immediate execution into your long-term planning. This doesn't mean abandoning careful strategy or thoughtful reflection. Instead, it's about finding ways to incorporate rapid action and frequent testing into your broader roadmaps and visions. One effective approach is to structure your long-term projects as a series of quick-win sprints. Instead of planning out every detail of a year-long project, for example, you might break it down into monthly or even weekly launch cycles. Each cycle becomes an opportunity to test, learn, and adjust your course based on real-world feedback. This approach keeps rapid action at the core of your operations, even as you pursue larger, more complex goals. It allows you to maintain the momentum and energy of quick wins while still working towards significant, long-term objectives. However, as you integrate this rapid execution mindset into your long-term strategy, it's crucial to balance speed with reflection. The danger of constantly pushing for quick wins is that you might lose sight of the bigger picture or miss important lessons along the way. To counter this, build in regular intervals for deeper planning and reflection. These don't need to be lengthy pauses that halt your momentum. Instead, think of them as pit stops in a long race, brief moments to refuel, check your direction, and make any necessary adjustments before speeding off again. Formalizing a cycle of launch, learn, and refine can help structure this balance. After each quick win or sprint, take a moment to assess what worked, what didn't, and how this information can inform your next steps. Over time, this creates a rhythm of continuous improvement, where each action builds upon the lessons of the last. As you sustain this cycle of continuous improvement, it's important to recognize that your quick win model itself will need to evolve over time. The tactics that work brilliantly today might become less effective as circumstances change, new technologies emerge, or your goals shift. This is where the concept of iterating your quick win model comes into play. Regularly reassess your rapid execution strategies. Are they still delivering the results you need? Are there new tools or approaches you could incorporate to make them even more effective? By treating your quick win approach itself as a work in progress, you ensure that it remains relevant and powerful over the long term. Flexibility and resilience are key here. The goal isn't to create a rigid system that you follow blindly, but to develop a set of principles and practices that can adapt to changing circumstances while still delivering rapid results. As you refine and evolve your approach, it's crucial to keep your broader objectives in view. Quick wins are powerful, but they're most effective when they're aligned with your overarching personal or organizational vision. Regularly check in to ensure that your rapid actions are building towards meaningful end goals, not just generating activity for its own sake. This alignment process can be a powerful tool for motivation and focus. When you can clearly see how each small victory contributes to your larger vision, it adds an extra layer of significance to your daily actions. It turns the pursuit of quick wins from a tactical approach into a strategic imperative. As you master this long-term quick win strategy, you'll likely find that it opens up new frontiers of possibility. The skills and mindset you've developed, rapid execution, continuous learning, adaptive planning, can be applied to an ever-expanding range of challenges and opportunities. Start mapping out these new frontiers. Where else in your life or work could you apply these principles? Perhaps there are personal goals you've been putting off, or new markets your organization has been hesitant to enter. The quick win approach can provide a low-risk, high-reward method for exploring these new areas. Moreover, as you become adept at rapid testing and validation, you'll be well-positioned to identify and capitalize on emerging trends in your field. The ability to quickly prototype and test new ideas gives you a significant advantage in fast-moving industries or markets. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of mastering this approach is the ability to close the speed gap between idea and execution. In a world where change is constant and often unpredictable, the capacity to rapidly turn thoughts into action is invaluable. This is where the true long-term advantage of the quick win mindset becomes clear. While others are stuck in endless planning cycles or paralyzed by the pursuit of perfection, you'll be out in the real world, learning, adapting, and making tangible progress. As we conclude this book, I want to encourage you to become an ambassador for this mindset of speed over perfection. Share your experiences and successes with others. Help them understand that consistent, rapid action often yields far better results than prolonged planning or the pursuit of flawless execution. The payoff of embracing this approach goes far beyond just improved productivity or faster project completions. It's about fundamentally changing your relationship with progress and achievement. It's about developing the confidence to tackle ambitious goals, knowing that you have a proven method for breaking them down into manageable, actionable steps. Moreover, this approach fosters a mindset of continuous growth and learning. Each quick win becomes not just an accomplishment in itself, but a stepping stone to greater understanding and capability. Over time, this compounds into a level of skill and adaptability that can set you apart in any field. But perhaps the most profound benefit is the sense of agency and empowerment it provides. In a world that often feels unpredictable and out of control, the ability to consistently take effective action, to see your ideas rapidly transform into reality, is incredibly powerful. It's a source of confidence, resilience, and optimism that can carry you through even the most challenging times. As you move forward from here, remember that the journey doesn't end with the last page of this book. The principles and strategies we've explored are meant to be lived, tested, and refined through your own experiences. Each day presents new opportunities to apply these ideas, to push your boundaries, and to discover just how much you're capable of achieving when you embrace the power of quick wins. So, as you close this book, I challenge you to take immediate action. Choose one idea, one project, or one goal that you've been hesitating on. Apply the principles we've discussed. Break it down, set a rapid deadline, execute quickly, learn from the results, and iterate. Experience for yourself the exhilaration and empowerment that comes from turning thought into action with unprecedented speed. Remember, the future belongs to those who can not only envision it, but rapidly bring it into reality. You now have the tools to be one of those people. But mastering quick wins is just the beginning of your journey to success. To truly excel, you need to develop a comprehensive strategy for winning in every aspect of life. There's a crucial next step that can elevate your quick wins into consistent, long-term triumphs. Curious about what it takes to become unstoppable? The answer lies in mastering the art of strategic thinking and flawless execution. To continue your transformation and learn how to turn your rapid successes into a lifetime of achievements, dive into the audiobook, How to Win at Everything You Do. Tap the center of the video now to continue your transformation journey.